Hello, welcome. It is session 2 of the Finish Your Books Masterclass. And that's books with an S on the end. Welcome, welcome. So, Monday I wore my Wonder Woman t shirt because I like to feel like a superhero writer. I really like t shirts. I mentioned this on Monday. Really like t shirts that just make me laugh or inspire me or motivate me or whatever. Today, I'm wearing my Life is Short, Do Stuff That Matters t shirt. And this shirt I actually got through a business coaching course that I was in. Well, not course, it was coaching, a business coaching program that I was in for almost a year and a half. And I loved this shirt. Life is short, do stuff that matters. I have a mug, got a couple things. And it really makes me feel like it reminds me, of what's important in my life. And the reason why I'm doing this master class is because writing is really important in my life. And it's not just important for me to do it, but it's also important for me to share it and encourage other people to either get started with their writing, get restarted with their writing, um, feel more motivated and inspired and happy and less stressed with their writing. I know so many people in so many of those groups and categories. And, I can't help everybody. None of us can help everybody with, whatever it is that we try to help people with, whether it's encouragement or an actual thing. If you're a teacher, you can't teach every student. You can try to teach all the students in your class. If you are a football coach, you can really only coach the people on your team. If you're a little league coach, you can coach the people on your little league team. So um, basically, this whole hour is going to be a lot about our why, our purpose, and how it is all wrapped up into this category that I've called heart and soul. Now, the reason why I mentioned the clothing is because I actually know people who dress up as if they're going to the office. So they've got, their nice clothes and their hair and their makeup. So we're talking mostly women, and and they have a way that they present themselves to the world, and they do it at their desk when they're sitting there by themselves, because for them that's what makes them feel like they're professional. And I think that probably most people feel that clothing sets their mood to some extent. I'm on kind of the other end of the scale. There's a lot of people who feel like being as comfortable as possible so that you don't notice anything about yourself, your body, your chair, your environment. You can just focus on this pretend world that you have in your head and just start writing. I definitely fit into that category. And so I am among the group that in general wears, the sweatpants and the yoga pants and the t-shirt, and usually not a bra because, I'm not seeing anybody. Today I'm seeing you. So decided to dress up and wear a bra today. And I say these funny, weird things that my mother would be like, don't say things like that, because this is part of mindset. All of these things, the clothing that we wear, how we come to our work, how often we come to our work. There are so many things that are coming from either our brain, our heart, our spirit, the part of us that is looking for or connected to our purpose in life. Why are we here on this planet? What do we feel like we're meant to do? I know at least one of my friends, she's like, my number one purpose, I really feel, and this was years ago, she had small children, and she said, I believe my number one purpose is raising my children in the best possible way that I can so that they feel loved, safe, secure, and will be contributing members of society so that they can, make a more positive mark on the world. And then my second purpose is to write books. And I was like, oh, wow, that's really interesting. I like that. And I think in some ways, we all have kind of this multiple purpose idea already in our heads. Maybe we think about it, maybe we don't. Um, but today, I think it's really important for us to really focus on how these things affect our writing. Remember, the point of this masterclass, and in fact, the point of my Finish Your Books group coaching program, is to help you to write more with less stress and more peace and joy. So let's take a moment and go over to the, you know what? I need to get the correct screen here before I can go to it. So give me 1 second. We're going to go back to the slides that we were at yesterday, kind of restart where we were, do a brief overview so that if you're catching up, you remember or are finding out right now for the first time where exactly we were talking yesterday. So what I'm teaching during this 4-day free workshop is my whole path system to writing more with less stress and more peace and joy. And the whole path system is, let me just get my mouse over here so it moves. There we go. It's about looking at your whole life and all of the aspects and areas in it. So we talked about what are the most important areas of your life. And I mentioned that from a what sells most on the internet in business standpoint. From that standpoint, people are usually most interested in relationships, finding, developing, improving relationships. They're interested in money, finding, getting more, having more, keeping more, investing better, anything having to do with improving their financial situation. Health, wellness, fitness, dieting, anything having to do with health. And vocation and avocation. Either people are trying to improve how they do the job they do, or they want to get better at things that they would like to do more of. And that's where we're kind of sitting on that fence right there. So if you were taking a music class, but you were never in a million years going to be a musician, then that would be more of the hobby avocation side. If you were a banker and you were taking a class on banking, that would absolutely be the vocation side. And we're kind of straddling the fence here because some of us are just wanting to write and then figure out the publishing and the money and the earning something from it later. First, I need to get these books out of me. And some of us are already in a position where we've been writing, and what we're trying to do is renew our joy again so that we can get back to, or get to for the first time, a place where our books, whether they're fiction or nonfiction, are coming from a place of joy, service for people out there in the world, helping other people to just either feel better about their life, learn something new, change how they think about things. And one of the issues that writers have, and probably lots of other people, but I can only speak for me, my life, the people that I know, it's a kind of big problem amongst writers, especially ones who've been going for a long time, to juggle and balance all of this. There are a million blogs, classes, books, etc., about being a parent and especially being a mom and writing at the same time. And really, in every way, most people feel like they have to wedge writing into their life somewhere. Where are they going to find that space? And so the whole path system will help you with that. It's essentially life coaching for writers, really, because we're going to look at all of our life and writing, and we're going to try to figure out how we can weave a tapestry that will be individual for each one of us, that will help us to have more words written, more books finished, whether you just have the one on your brain and that's the one and you just need to finish this one, or and this may happen to you if you're in that category, you still might end up in the category of, but then I had another idea and another idea, and wait, I have a whole lot of ideas. And the reason why I want to help you with this is, yeah, it would be great to help you because you want to write a book and I know how to write books and I can help you. But I really, really want to help you because I believe that books change people's lives. I believe that they change their lives on a micro level. They just help us to feel better about our day, having a stressful day, and then we feel happier and joyful, or we're watching the news and we just feel kind of angry and tense about life, and the world's just going to crap in a bucket kind of thing. And then we read this great thriller novel, and the bad guy gets it in the end. He always gets it. Like good always succeeds against evil, and it's like, okay, I can sleep better tonight. So there's lots of things that we can do in fiction. And additionally, there is so much that we can do in nonfiction. Your memoir might be something that helps another person who's going through something similar to you see, how did you get through it? Okay, well, maybe then they can get through it. Your how to something something could be how to replace the motorcycle pipes on your motorcycle. It could be what are all the books that I have? I have Einstein for Dummies and Neuroscience for Dummies on my shelf. I have several brain books and neuroscience books. I just love those. I have like 4 shelves of just writing books. So just think about all the people who wrote a writing book. I mean, you probably own a few of them at least yourself. So many ways that somebody out there has already written books that have changed your world. And now you might be that person for someone else. And I want to help you to the degree that you want to do this, because this is not me being pushy about you have a book in you must bring it out. You don't must. There's no must. You get to decide. And that's what we're talking about today. Your heart and your soul, your why, your purpose. This is what's helping you decide. And then you can be comfortable with your decision. Your decision right here. Nobody else gets to be a part of it. Not me, not your best friend, not your spouse, not your kids, not your boss, not your neighbor, not the grocery clerk that you're like, why did I tell her I was writing a book? I just didn't want to tell anybody yet. And now she asks you about it every time. Like, it's really, in some ways, it's none of those people's business until there's actually a book that you can give them. So this is about you writing. If this is what you feel like you need to want to just feel full of joy when you think about doing it, that's what this is about. Okay. So I've mentioned in the past this idea of on Monday, the idea of if you want to go fast, go alone. I have 2 screens if you're wondering what I'm looking at. If you want to go far, go together. I've seen this so many times in different kinds of trainings. And there's a lot to be said for it. I mentioned on Monday my experience as a runner running half marathons. In a million years, nobody would run with me if they wanted to finish this race fast, because I have, in fact, come in last, third to last, and I don't know what. But I've also like come in the top half. One time, I think I came in the top half. So out of like 4,000 people, I was in the top 2,000, and I was like, yay, this is my best race ever. So in some ways, I was going further because there was all these people. There's no way I was going to quit. All of these people were all running to the finish line. And on the other hand, like, there was just no way any of those people were going to go faster if they were running with me. But as a more writing example, when I was a member of Romance Writers of America, when I lived in the US, so that's been a little while. I mean, I've been in and out a lot because of John's job. So when I was a member of that organization, there were around 10,000 members. We were definitely a group of people who were essentially trying to help each other to all move forward together. And of course, some people, so just like a race, some people were moving faster. Some people had a lot of things going on. They weren't helping as many people personally this year, but some other year they're helping a lot more people, teaching classes or mentoring or whatever. And the entire organization as a whole was helping all of these people move forward in their career, in their goal or career to write romance novels, or novels with some romantic elements at least, to get further into this and go farther and go faster than they could if they were alone. The reason why I do one-to-one coaching with people is because I know that I can help you. If we're working just you and me for 6 months, I know that I can help you finish your book, finish it faster, feel better about yourself, feel better about your book, write a better quality book for working together than if you're sitting there by yourself for 6 months, right? And again, with the group coaching, same thing. The idea is, to walk into a room full of writers for the first time. I remember this experience. In fact, I've felt this way many times, not just the first time. I'm, living my normal life. And then I go to a writer's conference and I'm like, oh, my people. Like, I don't have to worry about saying something weird. Like, yeah, but then the one voice in my head said, but then the other voice in my head said, nobody looks at you funny because all of them feel the same way. All of them are like, yes, I know, me too. So there are a lot of things to be said for taking this journey together, especially because no matter what group or organization or anything else that you're in, you actually are doing the work by yourself. So finding a way to feel connected to other people and for them to help you feel more connected to yourself, kind of this symbiotic relationship, that is a big key in the writing life, the writing lifestyle. And that's why I'm spending a lot of time on it today. Okay. Let me just, there we go. So the whole path system, again, this is just a recap of Monday. And again, when I realized that all of these ideas that I wanted to share with people that I'd been learning over the last 30 years of writing myself, when I realized that it kind of started forming, the first letter of every word kind of started forming words. And I was like, okay, whole path, that is something I just feel like God has given me something that I need to share. So I am sharing it with you. Um, Writing, arguably the most important part of your journey. Heart and soul, what I believe is arguably it's right up there. It's almost as important as writing. You can be clear on what your heart and soul and purpose and be connected to yourself. And if you're not putting words on the page, it's not really helping you. But if you are putting words on the page, being connected to why you're doing it and what kind of purpose that you feel in your life is a huge part of the fuel that'll move you much further and much faster down this road. Organization is a big deal. Where if you could see, I should have taken a picture before I cleaned my desk and my floor. I say desk and floor because a week or two ago, before I started doing some videos to talk about this, I really wanted my desk to look a lot neater than it had been. There was probably, I don't know if you can really tell, but there was probably this high of a pile of papers here because I just keep on putting things down like over the last year probably. And then finally I wanted, to do some videos and I put all the papers on the floor. And I'm one of those people who I'm a piler more than a filer. I do file, but I tend to lose things when I file them because it's a little bit out of sight, out of mind for me. And somebody actually shared a magazine article with me once, and I was so happy. And I've saved it somewhere on my computer, and I will try to find it for you for Friday. But some people really do think in this way that's more like, it's in the pile of things that has the blah blah blah, and I said it there last week, and that's how they remember things better than it's in the file that's marked blah blah blah. I say blah 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 all the time, just so you know. So we'll talk about organization both with paper, with electronic files on your computer, with just trying to remember as you're making up things out of the blue, like the names of your characters and their family members' names. I started a book, I wrote down some people's names, then I came back to it. I could not remember any of the brothers and sisters' names. And then I changed one of the sisters' names. My sister thought it would be really funny if the sister in this book's name was Wendy, so I named her Wendy. That's been the easiest person for me to remember. I can't name all of Gabe's brothers and sisters, my brothers and sisters' names, because I don't have that many. So organization, how do you find things? How do you remember things? How do you put things in a place where you can easily access them again? We'll be talking about that a lot on Friday. And then the rest of the path, laughter and fun and rest. This is actually, science is proving, if you didn't believe it before, and you probably did believe it, this is an important part of helping us to have a healthy personality, a healthy spirit. Economics, we all want to know what can we do to possibly earn money? How much money is it going to cost us to get there? And how can we reduce expenses, increase potential income? But like, where's the sweet spot to, well, I'm going to have to spend this much in order for it to look professional. If I spend this much, it's not going to look professional. I won't sell as many copies. Lots and lots of things to talk about regarding economics, but also just the idea of, if you tell yourself at the beginning of the year, or find some date where you're like, okay, it just happens to be very close to January. So let's just say that you say, as of January 1st, my budget for 2023 is going to be $1,000 for anything and everything that I want to do in 2023. Or it'll be $5,000, or it will be, no more than 20% of something else. Like, you just, when you come up with a number that you just decide, this is what I can afford, and I'm going to stick to it to the degree that you can. Maybe you'll have to lower it later, or you'll have a windfall and you'll increase it. But it just gives you so much more peace of mind, instead of every month there being something where you're like, oh, can I do that? Should I do that? Okay. People, so many kinds of people who are a part of your life. We talked about a lot of these people on Monday. Some of the people who are a part of your family, your household, your immediate life, and then all the other people that you might be working with, hiring, becoming associates as fellow writers who are all kind of banding together and working towards a goal. And how are you working with and interacting with these people? What are the best ways to have a healthy relationship, to be respectful, to have boundaries, to get people to be more supportive of you, etc. Accountability, that's pretty much, it says what it is right there. If we can talk about what we're going to plan to do this week, and then attempt to do it. We won't always do it. And actually, if you always make your goals every week, you probably should increase your goals a little bit. But my old writers group in Sydney, Australia, when I used to live in Sydney, we still get together every Sunday, and it's super duper crazy early for me and John. And it's their evening, almost dinner time for them. And we decide what our goals are for the week. And sometimes we'll come back and say, I did all my goals. Most of the time we're like, I did some of my goals. Every once in a while, I did none of my goals. It was a terrible week, but it feels good to like have these people that you can come back to, you know? All right. So I feel like I'm spending too much time talking about all this. I get very excited about this. It's really hard for me to speak for only an hour about anything writing related. Time management, again, that's something that's kind of self-explanatory. Health, there are so many aspects to your health that that's something that I want to spend more time on. But because of the fact that we just have these 4 days together, an hour each day, then the laughter through health, that those L through H there, that is going to be kind of all condensed into one day, and we'll just do the best we can. But I'll at least be able to give you some tips so that if you are working by yourself, you can be thinking about, okay, these are the ways that I could have the best possible life with all of these things, all of these aspects of my life connected and feeling balanced. Now, balance doesn't mean that it's 10%, 10%, 10% like that. Balance could be that, for instance, we happen to be in November right now, National Novel Writing Month, and a lot of people who have participated at least once or more know that it's called NaNoWriMo. It's a little kind of acronym. And during Nano, there are a lot of people all over the world, several 100,000. If you did not know that, it probably comes as a shock to the huge number, that are on this website, and everybody's trying to write as many words as they can every day for 30 days. So during the month of November, for instance, writing could be 25% of your day. It might be that you get up in the morning and write, and then you go to work and you write at lunch, and then you come home and have dinner, and then you write some more before you go to bed, and then you write on the weekends. And in the meantime, you're probably don't have any time to do much of anything else. So time management is like kind of out the window. You may or may not be spending very much time on any of these other items. Your health, Depending on who you are, you're only sitting, and you're really going to need to look at your health on December 1st when you try to like get your shoulders stretched out again and your back stretched out again. Um, but then things kind of even up again. And then let's just say if you're an American in December, then people might really kind of expand. You're seeing more people, visiting more people, going to more Christmas parties, spending more time um, doing holiday things with people on the holidays or near the holidays, spending time out in the malls with people, having coffees with people. You're peopling a lot in December probably. And so that's going to, become a larger part of your life. And it doesn't mean that the other things are out of balance, but what we're looking at is in general over your life, just trying to keep a balance in general and feel like I'm happy with the amount of each of these things that I'm doing. So, for instance, especially during November, I would love to just throw health to the wind and have a big bowl of peanut M&Ms on my desk and never worry about having to go out in the cold and run or walk or do my HIIT exercises in my dining room because thank you, COVID. Now I have a dining room gym. And like forget about doing laundry, forget about cooking. I'm just going to eat fast food because all I want to do is write. I could do that, but I really want to stay more balanced than that. Okay, so these are some of the things that we're looking at when we're looking at the whole path system. And I hope that regardless of whether you work with me anytime in the future, you will take a screenshot of this and just ask yourself, how can I bring more balance to my life and get all of the pieces to be at a level of, let's just call it health, a level of health that makes me happy or at least satisfied. Okay. All right. Let me stop sharing for a minute and just kind of give you some more thoughts on this. So, a big part of the heart and soul topic is mindset. And you probably know this, what you believe tends to be where you'll go. And it tends to suggest how far you'll go in some direction. And to give you the clearest idea of how this can work so that you can really see it in your mind, if you are riding a bike or riding a horse or driving a car and you're looking straight in front of you, you will likely go straight. If you look off to the side, you can look away for a minute and come back, look away for a minute and come back, look away for a minute and come back. Excuse me. But if you are doing any of those things, riding a bike, riding a horse, driving a car, and I mention these because I've done all three of these things, or actually even running. If I'm running and I like look behind me and I look over my left shoulder and I just want to see like how many more people are behind me, by the time I look forward again, I've moved 2 or 3 feet over to the left, maybe a half a meter over to the left. And then I'm like, oh, wait, don't run in front of somebody, like stay in your, not really lane, but stay in your lane. And if you're doing one of those other things, you'll notice that if you keep looking off to the right, at some point you're going to be like, oh, whoops, sorry, I'm not fully in my lane. I started going off to the right side of the, I live in the city now, so I don't have a car and I haven't been driving for a while. What's it called? The side of the road. Yeah, I'm going off the side of the road. I can almost see the word shoulder. Thank you. Okay, so same thing in really any area of your life. And your mindset is kind of what's controlling these things. So we need to be aware of what it is exactly that we believe. If we want to get someplace we haven't been, or because I'm talking to people who haven't started or haven't finished a book, but also I'm talking to people who have just gotten tired, who just feel uninspired, frustrated. They've written some books, but you're just feeling tired. So if you want to return to that place that you once were, where you were excited and happy and you were doing lots of writing, we need to change our thoughts. So for instance, how important is writing to us? That is going to be to some degree a tiny bit different, possibly every day or every week. There are times of the day that John and I both, my husband also started writing several years ago. So I've been excited. At first, I was not excited. I was like, this is going to be weird. He's not going to want my advice ever, and he's going to be annoying me, and I'm going to be annoying him. This will be horrible. But we've gotten over the gravel road part of that. Now we're on a nice smooth highway. So and now I've sort of lost my train of thought because I have too many analogies running in my head. Uh changing our thoughts. Yeah. So we want to listen to the thoughts that we might not even be hearing, really, the things that we're thinking unconsciously or subconsciously. So right this minute, you're here and participating in a writing masterclass. And even right this minute, that is changing how you think of yourself as a writer. And any number of things could be happening right now. I just want to make sure that I am seeing the comments in case anybody leaves a question or anything. Um, you might have started the class with just an idea of who you want to be. You might have come in with a specific problem. Can she help me with this problem? You might have come in, like I said, either as somebody who hasn't started or finished a book, or as somebody who's written several but just feels like they've lost their mojo. All of those things, by thinking the thing that you are feeling, that also is changing how you then are seeing yourself. So right now, I want you to think to yourself, I'm listening and participating in a writing masterclass because this is important to me. And when you really think those thoughts clearly in your head, it will change how you think of yourself, because now you're going to think of yourself even more so as a writer, as somebody who writes books and who is learning to write better and finish books. And not everybody needs to feel this way, but you might be thinking, I am someone who can write and finish a book and put it out there into the world, either through traditional publishing methods, self-publishing methods, or just I have the story that I want to tell and I want it to be available to my children, my grandchildren, my family, my organization, and those people will be interested. I'm not really going to publish it to the world. It will be for my special group that I'm writing this book for. Okay, so how can we add fuel to that? Well, there are a few different kinds of fuel, and probably one of the most common ones is fear. Now, you might be thinking, how is fear fuel? But if you tell your spouse or your best friend that you're writing a book, now you feel that pressure of being stuck, but needing to finish the book because you told someone you were writing a book. Um, if you don't finish the book, you might think I'll look foolish. Or you sent the first 3 chapters to an agent and they've asked for your full manuscript. And now you're second guessing whether or not the manuscript is really done, or does it need to just have one more final edit, but I've got to finish it and send it to her. And soon, otherwise, she'll think I may insert what you might say about yourself. I'm a loser. I'm unprofessional. I'm irresponsible. All of those words are negative, and they come from a place of fear. We're afraid of what other people might think of us. We're also afraid of what we'll end up thinking of us if we don't finish, if we said we're going to do something and then we don't do it. Not just, I'm going to do the dishes. Oops, I didn't do the dishes. I'm talking about, I said something was really important to me and I was going to do it because it's really important to me, and then I didn't do it. This is a place where I am editing myself a little bit right now because I just want to make sure that you understand how strong and powerful the words that you say, or the words that you allow other people to say, and for those people's words to stick in your head. These are strong and powerful words. So you absolutely need to have more positive ones than negative ones, more encouraging ones rather than discouraging ones, because that will help you to move farther and faster. And the negatives are going to be like a break, and it might be, a hard break or a soft break. But I want you to think about the words that you have in your head and what you mean, and whether or not you really believe them. And if you do believe them, but you don't like them, how are you going to change them? So if you've been following me in the past, if you've listened to my podcast, you know that I get a lot of inspiration and wisdom from the Bible. And it says, there is no fear in love. Perfect love casts out fear. So if we're trying to live a life of more love, how can we also live in fear if we're using fear as our fuel? I want you to give that a little bit of thought. Maybe even journal on it later. So instead, make your why your fuel. We talked a little bit about why on Monday. Why this book? Why you as a writer? Why now? Okay. Now, what if you probably already know this, unless you're really new? What if is the big story starter? What if a cop was trying to get back together with his wife, but terrorists attacked? Well, that could be the movie Die Hard, right? What if a guy was just trying to stop thinking about his dead wife because it was so horrible to think about, and just mind numb in just not think about anything, just just kind of be dead to the world, disconnect himself from the world, but then a ghost kind of breaks into his life. So that could be like the beginning of Just Like Heaven. There are so many things that you might be able to say what if, and that could be the beginning idea of a book, whether it's a self-help book, how to build something, how to fix something, how to learn a language. Um, it could be cooking, baking. Uh, Again, I have this, motorcycle example. I don't know why. I think it's because I saw a Facebook meme. Yeah, actually it is. I saw a Facebook meme about an Amazon scam where a husband buys really beautiful jewelry for his wife, but Amazon sends him motorcycle parts. It's a joke, of course, but it was funny because the person who posted it was a motorcycle owner, and my husband used to be a motorcycle owner. So hopefully you're laughing. Otherwise, you're like, that doesn't make any sense to me. Don't worry about it. um, but what if you could use what if to help yourself through the harder parts, to add to your fuel in a way that was positive rather than negative? For instance, what if this could be easier than you thought? What if you could get over this hump and know that things would be easier? And then if you found more humps, more challenges, you would have tools to get over those as well. What if you believed that? That is some positive energy. Okay. And I really think that it is a huge part of what will help us to finish our books and to get through the difficult parts. I have written maybe, let me think, one, maybe two stories that just flowed out. They were so easy. And I've got 9 stories out there right now, plus the things that I haven't published. So 2 out of 9, that's less than 20%. I mean, when you think of all the other things I also haven't published. So it's not going to be super easy. And if it's easy one time, it probably won't be easy the second time. You might have even heard people talking about, oh my gosh, I'm in the second book slump. Like the first one went well, or maybe the first one took you 10 years to write, but now you've sold it to a publisher who says, all right, great, let's publish another one of your books. So you'll have a year. And then people kind of are like, I don't know if I can write a book in a year. And then eventually, the very same person might be a person who later is easily writing 3 or 4 books in a year. So there's so many things about your mindset, because it's not just woo woo magic. It isn't magic. But when you train your brain to think about the positive ways that this could turn out, then it starts asking itself, okay, how would I do that? Subconsciously, your brain is trying to work through, well, how could I make that easier? how could I get to the point where I'm writing a book a year and then 2 books a year? And your brain will start looking for ways to do it. And it'll start finding things, either in articles or training or classes or books or whatever. And it will start giving you ideas that will help you to end up achieving the goals that you are trying to uh, positive talk yourself into. Does that make sense? So it's not just woo woo. It's you telling your brain something positive. What if this were easier? And your brain starts going, okay, how would it be easier? And it starts looking for things. And it's like, oh, well, I could do this thing. That made it a little bit easier. I could do that thing. That made it a little bit easier. And you can do that with your whole life. This, I'm just I happen to be talking about writing at this point. Um, okay, so let's see. I am trying to not spend more than an hour because I promised an hour, and yesterday I think I went for an hour and 10 minutes. So, um, another writing relating question that I think could really help you, because I think about it myself in my life. And it's been something that probably maybe 10 years or so I've been thinking about this. One of the things that they say about writing fiction is, in order to come up with more conflict, get your character to have to climb a tree, and then don't let him down, have a dog or a wolf at the bottom, and then throw rocks at him, so that basically everything is going really wrong. So that adds conflict to your story. Um, and sometimes I'll be looking at my life and I'm like, my gosh, I'm up a tree. There's a wolf at the bottom and somebody's throwing rocks at me. Seriously, when is my life ever going to get better? But then when I think of it in terms of a story, then I start thinking, okay, well, that usually happens at about this point in the story. And then usually, this will happen, or this will happen, or someone comes along, or the wolf gets, called away, or whatever. Or, in the case of Lord of the Rings, giant eagles come and pluck them out of their disaster and fly them to a safer place, pluck them right out of the tree. So there are a lot of ways that you can look at the problems in your life and think to yourself, okay, if this were a book, something would be happening soon that helps me get to the next phase. And this class, hopefully, is one of those things. Hopefully, you were at one point on Sunday, and next week you'll be at a different point where you're like, okay, I have some ideas, I have some tools, I have some tips and tricks, and we're moving further down the path. Now, another story question, I love this one, it's one of my favorites, is from a story perspective, what does the hero want? Why does he want it? And what gets in the way? And this also, it's related to the up in a tree throwing rocks. But if you look at it from the perspective of you being the hero of your own story, what do you really want? Why do you want it? We talked about that today, and we've been talking on Monday, and we're talking about it again today. What do you want? Why do you want it? And what's getting in your way? That's actually going to be part of your homework assignment, to do a little journaling on that. Because if you could figure out, what do I really want? Is it to be published? Because that's different from, I want to write this particular book. Which is also different from, I would like to write books for the rest of my life. So you have to start being really specific. And I want to be published is different from, I want to be published by a traditional publishing house in New York or London, versus I want to be published and put out a quality book, but I don't care whether or not I do it or if a publishing house does it. So you can be looking at self-publishing. I suppose this is not me, so it's a little bit hard for me to imagine it. But you could be thinking, I want to be published. I don't care what my book looks like. I don't care how many people buy it. I just want to put a book up on Amazon. Well, you can do that pretty quickly, pretty easily, without tons of work. But I'm usually wanting to make a point of saying, I'm talking to people who we're talking about, I want to put a quality book out that people would want to read, even if those people are my family members. And of course, quality is something that's A, in the eye of the beholder in many ways, and B, something that for the most part will increase over time and with experience. So I want to put out a horror novel as good or scary as Stephen King, or something as amazing and scary as Dean Koontz. Those are two authors I love to read. Um, and I want that to be my first book. Well, now maybe I just want to bring it down just a touch and just find a place, like what could you do in the next 6 months, year, 5 years? Like have a plan for, just like if you're wanting to lose weight. If you want to lose 40 pounds this month so you can fit into that perfect dress for Christmas, mm, I don't know if there's a healthy way to do that. Probably could do it. So again, we're kind of on that path of what's a healthy, reasonable expectation that you can have for yourself. And it's totally okay if your expectation for yourself is different from any of the things that I've been describing, because this is about you. What do you want? Why do you want that? And what's getting in the way of it? Okay. Now, there is a book that I absolutely adore, and I can't quote from it easily because I own it as an audiobook. It's called Start With Why by Simon Sinek. And that's Simon, Simon Sinek, Sinek. I adore this book. Hey, Elena. uh, Thanks for showing up live. This book has taken a bunch of thoughts that I've had in my head in various forms for the last 20 years, and it has made them feel like what he wrote and how he wrote it makes me feel like it helps me to organize all of my thinking about why I write and why I want to write, especially what I do. So for instance, I started writing romances early on, early, maybe even in college early, probably, I think. um uh, and there was a point at which that I had to sit down and decide. I had been at a writers conference. Somebody had said, in order to have a career, you want to write quite a few books in the same genre so that people understand your name means this kind of book. And then, switch genres later if you want. And so I was trying to decide, and I got married in the last year of college, and I still adore him, probably more than I did in college. We've been married 32 years, and I always thought, you know what? I just want to share how fun it is to be in love with other people. And I love laughing. I love things that are funny. I love romantic comedy movies. And there wasn't really any romantic comedy books, mostly, when I was beginning to write. But my husband and I think we're really funny together. And so I wanted to write about people like that. I wanted to just keep on re-experiencing the fun of being married to somebody who brought out your best and that sort of thing. And so I actually had a pretty good reason for why I wanted to write that. And even though I had tried other things, and when I was in grad school, we had to try a whole bunch of different things, and I got good grades. Sometimes I got better grades than I expected on a project. But then I'd be looking at it going, well, I'm glad that my teacher thought I wrote it well, but I just don't see myself writing young adult suspense. I don't think that I really, I don't know, would understand. It's not even the understanding, like the how I could do, but I think it's just that my heart wasn't in it. And that is why knowing where your heart and soul is with things is really important. I know that there are people who have different levels of what is acceptable for them as a reading experience. So, for instance, I can read books with sex scenes in them, but almost all of the time I kind of fast forward because I'm like, yeah, I know how that works. That's just not that interesting to me. If you can make it funny or something ridiculous happens, like who is it? Jennifer Cruzy. Oh my gosh, she writes romantic comedies and I love them. And I have never laughed so hard at a sex scene before as in the book Faking It, I think. It was just so funny. And it wasn't just writing a sex scene. I don't know. It just doesn't do anything for me. But if you can make me scared or laugh, I love being scared. I love laughing. It's pretty easy to make me cry, so that's not like a big thing for me. So when you look at the things that you really like, the books you really like to read, it may well be that that's the genre that you're going to want to write in, or that there's something about these other things that you really will need to incorporate in your own work. So definitely the laughter is something I wanted to incorporate in the romance. Um, I actually had written about 10,000 words, so I forget how many pages that is, um, of a kind of supernatural suspense book when I was in grad school. I have a master's degree in creative writing, and I loved that I was kind of scaring myself with what I was writing. And I was like, oh, I need to do more of this. I really, really, really like it. So, all of this is part of the heart and soul part of you that you're going to be discovering if you haven't already. And honestly, if you get the audiobook of Start With Why by Simon Sinek, he reads the book himself, and it's just like listening to him give like an 8-hour talk or something. I just loved it so much. Um, so, and again, I'm just going to try to wrap things up a little bit closer to top of the hour here. Our why is what moves us to do hard things. Like if there was, let me just see, a big tree falls across the path that I'm running. Am I going to climb over the tree? No. Am I going to walk around it? Not if it's that big a tree. Am I going to just turn around and run the other way? Yes. Why? Because I don't care. I don't care where I run. I just need to run my 3 miles, you know? Um, if a big tree falls down across the path and pins this neighbor, somebody I've never even met before, never even seen before, and like their arm or their coat, let's just, not make it, let's keep it PG or G here. So nothing bad has happened to them, but they can't get out from under this tree. Am I going to help them? Well, of course I am. Because that is part of who I am. It's part of what makes up this kind of heart and soul aspect of me. So why is important, and why this, why that, why this book that you're thinking about, why this genre that you're thinking about, why this group of people that you really you want to write a book that really moves teenagers to take a second look at the way that they're living their lives and make choices that really bring out their best self. And you want to do that in the form of a supernatural horror novel. You could totally do that. And your why will keep you going and going through all the hard times, all the ups and downs of writing this book until you finish this book. And then you will figure out how to market it. You will figure out how to get it published. You will figure out how to get it in the hands of teenagers because it's that important to you. You know what I mean? Okay, I don't want to keep on going and going on this, but let me just see if my notes have anything else that I can't ignore. I have to tell you. So another thing is that our why will move us better than fear. Remember that I said, fear can be a fuel, but I don't think that it's the best fuel that we can use. For instance, if the doctor told you you need to start eating healthy or you will die, you will probably start eating healthy. But it's kind of fear-based, right? Because you're afraid that maybe you would die and you don't want that. If you know that you have to obey the speed limit or you might get a ticket, it's a little fear-based, right? I mean, as someone who has regularly driven over the speed limit, I pretty much drive as fast as I know I can in this area without getting a ticket because I feel like I'm a safe driver, never gotten into an accident in my whole life that was my fault. And I'm moderately unaffected by the fact that the law says that the speed limit is this. It's totally fear motivated. I don't want to get a ticket because that would be embarrassing and I don't want to pay the fine. But why do I drive safely? Why do I drive what I think is safely? Why do I slow down when I think that the situation warrants it? Because I think it's super duper important for me and all the people around me that we don't get in an accident. You see how I'm doing the same thing, but one is out of fear and one is because I have a good why. So I'm going to drive safely in this instance because I think that it's the best thing for me and all the people driving around me. But in this instance, even though I think I'm driving safely, I'm not going to do this other thing, which is speed to a certain level, because I'm afraid of getting a ticket. So apply that to your writing life and your writing integration with the rest of your life and the ideas that you have. I had a lot more examples on this, but let's just move on to the next part. What's in your heart that makes you want to write? And or what's in your spirit or your soul that makes you feel like it's important to get this story out into the world? And that might even be even more than just your heart, but you might feel like it's your purpose. Because I have some things like that in my life. And, I can share them more later. There isn't really time today. But when I let me just, sorry, I'm reading my notes. I have my computer glasses on and not my reading glasses. So I think I said this on Monday. I had to kind of move things around so I could see them with my wrong glasses. Yes. So I told you, why I write romance and romantic comedy. Um, and the other thing that actually makes the marketing more difficult for me is that I wanted to write books about me and my friends, about people like me and my friends. So that would be, probably 75% of the friends that I have are Christians or fall in some kind of general sense into, you know, um, I don't know how to say it. Anyway, let's just say Christians. Lots of my friends are Christians. We'll say that. And lots of us go to church and we hang out together after church and we do other things together. And sometimes when I get angry, I'll say, let's see, I never even decided if I was going to keep this recording PG or G. It's going to be PG. So close the ears of the little tykes around you. I don't really have a big problem with saying shit, hell, or damn. And a lot of times I use those words in a hyperbolic sense when I'm trying to either make a point or be funny. And that doesn't really bother me. But let me just tell you, in case you're wondering, it is a big problem for readers. Either what's up with all this religious crap in this book, but otherwise I liked it, or I don't think this author's even a Christian because she has these Christian characters and they go to church, but then they swear and then they're like making out with a boy. And I was like, okay, fair enough. Obviously, I was not able to figure out how to market people who were in this kind of middle in between these two worlds. So sometimes your why and your heart and spirit and who you are and who you believe you are, there will be moments when you need to look at how that fits into the business of writing and publishing. Right this second, I would strongly urge you to write the book that you see and feel in your head, and then figure out the publishing angle later. I've said this to my clients many times, and I say it to myself also many times. The first draft is me writing the story the way I see it and hear it in my mind. The second draft, then now after years of experience, is going back through and looking for if I market this book to be similarly marketed to my other books, then I'm right in the middle right now of doing a rebranding. So all of my books will be considered clean. So clean and wholesome is a category on Amazon. And so all it means is that I think in one of my books, there was a grand total of 19 swear words in 400 pages. So I took out the 19 swear words. It wasn't that big of a deal. There are a lot of these things that you're just going to have to be asking yourself, what is the most important thing to me? Like, why am I doing this? And then also keep in mind that your first draft is just really for you. And your second draft, when you're going back through it again, then you're asking yourself, what genre does this book really fit in? And how would I change it in order to make it fit for that? But first, right now, heart and soul, that's what we're talking about. The last thing I wanted to say about this before we wrap up is that I want you to also be thinking about all of the parts of you that make up your heart and soul, all of the parts of you that aren't your physical self. So what about your emotional health? Like, what are you doing to help and protect your emotional health? and to help it to be healthier. Um, for instance, maybe books on boundaries. If you have some friends or family members who are uh, influencing you, making you unhappy in the way that they are making demands on your time or something, then maybe, boundaries and reading boundary books and trying to exercise healthy boundaries might be something that will help your emotional health. I'm totally making this stuff up right now, but just to give you some examples. Your spiritual health, like what is it that you do that helps you to feel more connected to God and the spiritual person that you feel that you are and that you want to be more of? What are the sorts of things that you can do to help or protect your mental health? I thank God that this is something that has become less taboo. It At least it's less taboo to talk about it. I think that in some places it's still taboo to actually say that I'm having a mental health problem right now. But at least we're able to start talking about it more. And again, if you've been listening to my podcast at all, you know that I had a horrible experience with burnout in 2018. I didn't realize that's what had been happening. I think it was a long time coming. But it was the I can't get out of bed kind of laying on the couch at the most sort of thing. And I didn't know what was wrong with me, and I didn't know how to get help. These are things that I'm also really passionate about, helping people to see it before it arrives, figure out how you can protect yourself from it. And worst case scenario, if you find yourself in a position where you are in any kind of mental health distress, that you can find ways to find help and get more healthy, just like we know or sometimes don't know what we can do. And then we ask and we get help to be more physically healthy, spiritually, mentally, emotionally healthy. And also, I don't want you to forget your intellectual health. I have not had children, blessings though they may be. But I do know a lot of friends who, in the first 2 years, were like, if I don't have a conversation with an actual adult and talk about something important, soon I will explode and I will just like be a massive blood and guts all over the living room. So there are times when you just need to ask yourself, is the thing that's bothering me that is the is sorry, I'm speaking so fast. If you feel like there's something bothering you and then you're asking yourself, what is it that's bothering me? And then you're like, well, I haven't thought about something important or had a really interesting philosophical conversation with anybody in weeks or months or years, and that's something I really love or used to love to do. Then again, that's another aspect of the heart and soul health that I want you to remember to keep an eye on. Even if it's like buying Neuroscience for Dummies or Einstein for Dummies, which are both on my shelf, because I was like, you know what, I don't really have time to take a whole class on this or whatever, but I just want to know more because I think it's interesting. So these are all the things that I wanted you to really think about and explore today. And just so that you know, part of my why, and I honestly believe part of my purpose, my reason for being created, why God has me here today on this earth right now is, and this may sound cheesy, but I mean it, is to love you and encourage you and and help you to find your purpose and your passion in whatever way that might be related to writing. If any way it's related to writing, I want to help you, encourage you, and tell you that you can do it. And what you believe about yourself is more likely to become the truth in the future than what you want to believe about yourself, but don't really believe about yourself. So I want to give you a little bit of homework like we did before. So let me just go over here and I'll find my homework page here and share my screen. Okay, here we go. All right. So hopefully you've had a lot of things going through your mind during this last hour, and a lot of things that you're like, oh yeah, that, or no, this, or wow, I hadn't thought about this way. Or, right, I used to think this. Why don't I think that anymore? Or why haven't I been thinking about this or that anymore? So, journaling time. We're writers, love it. I have to say that if I could spend all day either writing or journaling or reading, um, that would probably make my day in many, many cases. So, what I want you to do, and this is obviously optional homework, but I want you to at least look and see which items on here sound like something that could be helpful to you, and do as many of them as you feel like. So, write at least a sentence or as much as you want about why you want to write. If you haven't done much writing yet, or why you are a writer. If you're like, I am a writer, but, is there a but I've been uninspired or frustrated or unmotivated, or my mom's in the hospital, or my kids have been sick a lot, or insert story here, and go a few layers deep. We talked about the layers of why on Monday. So why do you want to be a writer? Because I always have all these stories in my head. Why do you think you have all those stories in your head? Well, I don't know. I haven't thought about why I have stories in my head because and then you write about that. And then you might go another layer deeper. And why do you want to get those stories out into the hands of other people, strangers, even people that you don't know? Well, because I really think that they would enjoy them and it would be entertaining for them. Okay, well, why do you want to be an entertainer? Well, because the world needs more laughter, darn it. And that might be just as far as you need to go. And then you start going backwards because you've written it all down. You start going backwards and you tell yourself, okay, so obviously I need to write about things that I think are important, but in a way that's entertaining. And I want there to be at least some moments of laughter throughout the book. Because apparently that's what I just wrote down when I wrote down my layers of why. See how that could be helpful to you? Okay, list out the things that affect your am I in the mood to write question. I'm not in the mood to write right now. Okay, wait, what was it that made you not in the mood to write? It's because you're tired, you're hungry, there's a really good TV show on. Like, what is it? Okay, what are the things that you're like, I'm in the mood to write right now? Okay, stop, wait. What are some of those things? Is it because you just had an idea? Because you almost always have ideas after your shower or after exercising. Is it because of this or this or this, or when you always talk to this person, it always inspires you? Maybe you have a child that's at that age where everything they say is like just really interesting, funny, weird stuff. I mean, I don't have kids, but I've noticed that somewhere around that 4 or 5 age range, they just say the darndest things. And sometimes I'll be around other people who have kids and the kids will say stuff and I'm like, all right, that gives me an idea. So what is it? Now look at the negative things and ask yourself, how can I not have this negative thought about, well, I'm not in the mood to write because of this? And how can I have more of these positive thoughts? I am in the mood to write because of this and this, so that you can get, first of all, eventually, if you become, and if you want to be, and you do become a more professional writer, you will need to learn how to write even if you're not in the mood. But this is the beginning of how to turn it, because eventually, if if you're good to yourself and you're listening to yourself, and we're writers, so we should probably already be introspective people. And this whole hour is about helping you and encouraging you to become even more introspective, so that you can ask yourself the questions that are unconscious or subconscious, that will actually help you to be in the place that you want to be, which is, I am in the mood to write because something. You've made your list, so figure out how you can go from the positive, from the negative to the positive. And then if you'd like, share what you found on the Facebook page, or if you're watching the YouTube video, you can mention it in the comments on the YouTube video. In the meantime, I am super excited that you are here, super excited that you're watching this later if you didn't have time to come live. And I'm excited to see what kinds of changes that you're going to find in the way that you see your writing, the way that you see yourself, the way that you see your purpose and your why, as it affects writing, and as writing is just a piece of the many layers of you. So I'm looking forward to talking to you again on Friday. Like I mentioned, we will talk about organization, and also because it just happens to line up with all of the big Black Friday, Cyber Monday sales, I will start talking to you a little bit on Friday and then more on Monday about this Finish Your Books group coaching program that I'm running that will start on Thursday, December 1st. So essentially, just a few days after this class ends, I'll start the group coaching program, which will be all of this and more, deep dives into each individual person's why and purpose, and finding the problems and working through them, and working together as a group of people who are like, oh, my people, the kind of people that make you feel like I'm home. Like, that's the group that we're going to have. And I'll start talking to you more about it on Friday and Monday, because I want to give you some big sale prices if you'd like to sign up. So Friday, be thinking about organization. Ask yourself, do I have any questions about organization when it comes to writing and the notes that I would be taking, and how to keep track of everything? If you have any questions, reply to one of the emails that I've sent, and I will try to cover your question during the class on Friday. Also, if you're watching this on YouTube and you add one of your questions to the comments in the YouTube video, again, I will try to answer your question during the talk on Friday. Have a great week. Get some great journaling done. Start looking for those things that make you feel excited about what you're doing and why you're doing it. And then try to hang on to that energy and ask yourself, how can I keep recreating this? Because that's what I do as a professional writer. I had to learn how. It didn't come naturally. I had to learn it. And I want to teach you how to do it, because you can learn to feel more peaceful and joyful with your writing. And I really believe that a huge amount of it is connected to knowing why you want to do it and why you are taking the time, however often, to do it, because it's that important to you. I hope you have a fantastic day. We will see you again on Friday. Happy writing, happy journaling. And if you're in the United States, happy Thanksgiving.